On my second channel, I made this video about why Kanye West may be right. For all of the emotional outrage that he causes when he says the words like the Jewish media, I mean, the media is kind of controlled by a lot of Jewish people.
See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
There is a certain level of fuck around that you get for free. And then the shit you find out gets found out real quick. You find out real fucking quick. You understand what I'm saying? It's an exponential curve.
I mean, the media is kind of controlled by a lot of Jewish people out here. We can actually see here who controls your mind. This was a chart back in 2013. All of these red is Jewish people, right? So they own like Universal Studios, ABC News, CBS, CNN, Columbia Pictures, DreamWorks, Facebook, Google, also run by Jewish people, Yahoo, Marvel, Pixar, the New York Post.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that last one again? Was that the New York Post?
Yahoo, Marvel, Pixar, the New York Post.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out.
Yahoo, Marvel, Pixar, the New York Post.
One Google search would reveal who is the owner of the New York Post. Right, Rupert Murdoch. So your claim is that the New York Post is owned by a Jewish man or a Jewish family. Is that your claim? Oh, are you thinking of Rupert Murdoch's wife? Is that what you were thinking of? Oh, I'm sorry. This one example reveals the extent to which someone like Tech Lead is totally incapable of doing the thinking, let alone the research required to unravel a political puzzle of this kind. It reveals the very profound incompetence of someone like him, as different as he may be from someone like Kanye West. It reveals the madness that's invisibly at work in putting together a document of this kind, the so-called Red List. This document was created by people who are willing to believe or who are willing to pretend that Rupert Murdoch is Jewish. Now, Tech Lead reads off the names of several of the companies there so rapidly you may not realize. Several of them are owned by Verizon. Oh, I'm sorry. Who owns Verizon Corporation? What's their ethnicity or what's their religion?
Kanye West, is he actually right about some of the things that he's saying once we move past all of the hurt and historic anger that pulls up memories of the Holocaust?
Life isn't fair. Those who understand politics understand everything. And those who do not understand politics, whether they be very successful as political programmers or dentists or specialists of any other kind, those who do not understand politics, they understand nothing at all. The little bits of information they fasten onto from the history of the world, from particular social sciences like economics, they're incapable of putting them together to form an analytical picture of the greater whole. That's why there's such a tremendous tension between people like myself and people like Tech Lead here, people who are computer programmers. They don't want to recognize the expertise that I have, and they can't recognize the way their own expertise and their own economic success blinds them to the fact that they remain as ignorant as a redneck high school dropout. Where it really counts, where it really matters, we're not talking about how to make money or how to spend money when we're talking about politics.
LucasArts, MSNBC, DreamWorks, Comcast, The New York Times, Comedy Central, Wall Street Journal, Wall Street Journal, Wall Street Journal, Wall Street Journal. I mean, admittedly, a lot of these large media organizations and tech companies that are able to shape global narratives are run by Jewish people. So does Kanye West have a point here? And maybe we need to ask some of these questions. What if there were some conspiracy theory going on? There's probably not, but it also bears remembering that history is written by the victor, and in our version of history, the Jewish people won, actually, right? Hitler and Nazi Germany were defeated, and the Protocols of the Zion of the Elders was classified as false propaganda. However, I've also found conspiracy theories online that state that the protocols were actually true. Alright, welcome back, Tech Lead here. And hey, this is pretty awkward because I didn't think we would meet again. Okay, I had left YouTube about a month ago. I abandoned this whole thing and I thought we would just part ways and I would ride off into the sunset. And you know, before this whole thing happened about a month ago, I was talking about Kanye West. I want to explain what really happened here. On my second channel, I made this video about why Kanye West may be right. And you know, there's plenty of reasons why he may be wrong as well, but what I was trying to do was to steelman the case for why he could possibly be right, and occasionally as a YouTuber I will challenge myself to take on controversial topics. So while the title of the video may have been clickbait sensationalist in nature as if I supported Kanye West, the true intent was to more try to understand him and to dispel anti-Semitism at its roots. I find it interesting to consider the ramifications and the legacy of essentially the Jewish people ultimately winning World War II with the Allies and Hitler's downfall, in which a lot of say Jewish values have permeated into the world. Like for example, social justice is actually a construct of Jews, and so Hitler opposed the Jews for the values they brought into the world. Social justice, wokeism basically, that we see today, which has been permeating across tech and media, and this compassionate assistance to the weak stood in the way that Hitler perceived as the natural order in which the powerful exercise unrestrained power. In his view, such restraint on the exercise of power would inevitably lead to the weakening, even the defeat of the master race. So, quite interestingly, if Hitler had won World War II, maybe we would not have such a woke society based on social justice, but it would be about this master race, about power. Now, the thing is that this video caused a lot of personal concern and anxiety amongst myself, my family, and we were starting to get concerned about our safety. And the thing is, the more I researched, just out of curiosity and an attempt to try to understand the mind of Kanye West, the more I realized I wasn't sure I wanted to learn any more about this thing, because I was horrified to learn that there are certain events in history that you simply cannot question. You cannot ask questions about, you cannot fact check them. It is actually illegal. There are laws made in place to actually forbid you from questioning certain events in history. Is it just a coincidence that Russia just so happens to be the anti-Jewish group of people, the same with Arabs, and so the West has aligned towards Jewish values? Has this been caused by, say, propaganda in the media? We don't really know. So it kind of raises the question, how would our values be different if we did not win World War II and side with the Jewish people, in which their values of, say, social justice permeate more into the West, right? And there are individuals who have gone out to try to ask some questions about these historical facts, saying, well, what's the proof behind some of this stuff? Can we fact check it? And in turn, they have had their lives absolutely destroyed. Like, some parts of history are simply off limits, you cannot ask questions about. And these people have gone to prison for asking those questions. And so while it's one thing to just laugh and banter about conspiracy theories like, hey, are aliens real? It's another entirely thing if, for example, you knew that aliens actually were real, and then you would no longer ask that question and you would be quite afraid of asking that question. And so I realized that I was personally not ready to handle the truth. And rather than taking the red pill, I decided to take the blue pill. And in a sense, that put an end to this channel as well, because on this channel, we try to find truth. Truth in life, truth in finance, truth in tech, what's the right way to do things. And, you know, if I'm not here speaking truth, then why am I here? And so my mind had just been totally consumed by the reality that had been broken for me. You know, I realized that everything I knew was a lie. History was a lie to me. My whole world was a lie. And I realized that in a way I had been I mean, maybe we're all enslaved in one way or another. And so we kind of see Kanye West talking about abortion a lot today, and he's noting how so many of the black community, like 50% or so, are dying from abortion. And so in a way, it may be that this modern day value of saying that abortion is okay may be a legacy and remnant of Jewish values having permeated through the West as a result of us winning World War II. You know what's funny? I even saw this article, I can't find it anymore, someone can reference it maybe, but it noted how it was this group of fanatical Jewish people who had massive disdain for the rest of the other Jewish people who actually caused the Holocaust. And in a sense, everybody is enslaved, right? Like people in China, there are certain parts of their history that we know they are not allowed to question and ask about. And, you know, we all have our rulers. But I was still just coming to grips with this because I had imagined that I was living in a free world. And with my reality shattered, this all left me in a state of shock for 2 to 3 weeks where all I could talk about was this thing. It was this group of fanatical Jewish people who had massive disdain for the rest of the other Jewish people who actually caused the Holocaust. Because in a way, the result of the Holocaust was that the Jewish people did get Israel and reclaim their holy land, Palestine. And so the small group of people were basically responsible for creating these world wars. And who knows, maybe there's also the small group of people with self-interest who are propagating the Ukraine-Russia war. And to me, the important part is that we should be able to question some of these narratives without people suddenly getting hurt and emotional about some historical victimhood status.
Conspiracies are normal, both in politics and economics. What's extraordinary is the way in which ignorant rednecks think about Jewish conspiracies, about any kind of success a Jewish person may have in any walk of life, in contrast to the very real success of Japanese, Saudi Arabian, Western European, any other kind of entrepreneur, any other kind of corporation. South Korea is a normal country. In fact, compared to any of the other neighboring countries in East Asia, it's in some ways shockingly normal. It's a contrast to North Korea, it's a contrast to China. It's a small country, and it's home to Samsung Corporation, one of the most successful, one of the most powerful, one of the most influential corporations in the world. How much power, how much control do you think Samsung Corporation has within South Korea? South Korea is home to Hyundai. Hyundai, the third most successful car manufacturing company in the world. How much power do the 5 wealthiest families in South Korea have within South Korea and globally? Guess what? That kind of power is perfectly normal. And it's been normal since ancient Rome, and ancient Roman authors wrote about it. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's great. But if you are not an ignorant redneck, whether you're a multimillionaire, successful computer programmer like Tech Lead here, or you're a multimillionaire recording artist, music and shoe impresario like Kanye West, whatever kind of millionaire you may be, if you had the humility to study and learn from case studies around the world, many different countries and many different cultures, the type of conspiratorial activity you see within South Korea and the influence those South Korean corporations have globally, you might start to understand that that's not exceptional, it's normal. Who killed JFK, guys? Do you think there was a conspiracy behind who killed JFK? If you take even the slightest interest in the question of who killed JFK, you're going to notice a disproportionate number of Cuban names, of Cuban people. There was a conspiracy. Not everyone involved was Cuban. A whole lot of the people were. And the reason why so many Cubans were involved, as you come to understand the politics of the era, it becomes obvious. It becomes clear enough. It makes sense. Cubans within the United States of America, they've been involved in quite a few remarkable terrorist plots, quite a few remarkable political conspiracies. They're overrepresented in organized crime. They're overrepresented in terms of the influential people within what you might call the anti-communist right wing of any given generation of the American government. But nobody takes the next step into madness of thinking that Cubans are part of a conspiracy to control the world. People don't even think Cubans control Miami. They don't think Cubans control CNN News or NBC News or the media generally. They don't think Cubans control Washington, D.C. or the globe as a whole. On the contrary, most people are willing to recognize that Cuban immigrants in the United States of America are actually quite poor and powerless people, even compared to South Korean immigrants, even compared to enormous, powerful corporations like Samsung and Hyundai that are powerful not just within South Korea, but globally. Conspiracies are real. Political conspiracies and economic conspiracies. And they're normal. The problem with Jewish conspiracy thinking is precisely the unique and obnoxious way in which it's abnormal. Let me ask you something, Kanye West. Let me ask you something, Tech Lead. If you believe this shit about us, about Jews, why can't you just be happy for us? When I look at what South Korea has accomplished in pulling itself out of the ashes of World War II, building the country that they've now become, when I look at what those corporate giants in South Korea have accomplished, I don't feel any jealousy at all. I'm happy for them. And when South Koreans come to Canada and they come to the United States and they start businesses here and they flourish and they become a positive part of our culture and our community, I'm happy for them too. If you really believe this myth that Jewish people are so uniquely gifted and so uniquely successful in just a few areas of the economy, that there's a clustering effect, just like there is for every other ethnicity, the same way there are clusters of people who get ahead in this type of business rather than that one, this type of art, this type of science. If you think that Jews have been extraordinarily successful in a few walks of life, why can't you just be happy for us? And the truth is, you won't be happy until each and every one of us is dead. If Jewish people are ever successful in precisely the way Cuban exiles were successful in insinuating themselves into the CIA-centered American political power elite, if Jews are ever successful in the way that South Koreans have been successful in putting together enormously powerful corporations, whether that be in telecommunications, car manufacturing, or otherwise, people like you will respond to us as a threat to your very existence in a way that you don't respond to Arabs controlling the oil industry, in a way that you don't respond to French people controlling the international arms trade, in a way that you don't respond to any other ethnicity of people having any level of success, any level of power or influence in any other industry. This is a hatred you have just for us. And the ultimate objective of that hatred, its endpoint, is genocide. you won't be satisfied until there are no Jewish doctors, no Jewish stockbrokers, no Jewish newspaper magnates at all. For people like you, one is too many because of the unique fear you have for us.